Hello folks, BloodBrew.com here and Arne Pilze, and this time around I'm gonna be talking about Legacy. A good chunk of information useful for people who are coming to Grand Prix Prague in a few days, next weekend. And I'm gonna go through some lists, some tournaments to kind of give you a sense of the meta. I'm gonna look at some decks, at some rogue and not so rogue choices, and discuss a little bit about particular card choices in few decks. And let's start with the result of the last big event for Bazaar Moxen in Unseen France. After all, the Legacy GP upcoming one in Czech Republic in Prague is in Europe, so we are looking at the European meta game. And this is the meta breakdown of the tournament. You can look at all this information at bazaarofmoxen.com. Just remember the lines in the URL name. So mostly it was about what? Well, others represented a big chunk, but it's mostly Delver, Eldrazi, Shardless, Miracles, and then a bunch of other decks, Reanimator, Stormlands, some rock decks, Painter, which is kinda surprising actually, and different Stoneforge Mystic decks as well. The eventual winner of this event that happened at the 7th of May is Monobron Eldrazi's, but there were a lot of different decks in that tournament. So that's the winning deck list basically. Interesting to see, he had full 4 Endbringers between main deck and sideboard. The number varies quite a bit for Endbringers. I've seen 0 main, couple of sides, 1 main, 1 side, and things like that. So it's a card that is good in the grindy meta game with a lot of mid-rangey fair decks, but you can probably cut on some of them if you expect a lot more of the combo decks, that's for sure. So the interesting part about few tweaks in here, you have your core, but there are some flexible slots. For instance, some cut some numbers of main deck and bringers, only run 2 spirit guides, for example, because drawing multiples is not really that great. Some cut like 1 reshaper, for instance, and then in those slots they manage to squeeze in a couple of Trinospheres or a couple of Thorns, and then basically the point is that you play additional ones in the sideboard, so you either just play a couple of Thorns main, couple of side in, and then complement that by a couple of Spheres of Resistance. This guy opted for Fairy Mecha, but most of the list I saw play just 4 black Leylines of the Void, and then the rest is kinda standard, although another interesting dynamic is to see All-Is Dust in the sideboard, because it's a great card, and in this deck it shines like nowhere else. Grixis Delver, one of the staples. Interesting to see basically 1 Life from the Loam and 1 Envelope in the deck, and 1 Abrupt Decay. Everything else is kind of expected, let's just say that. 1 of Winter Orb is also like spicy, but I've seen it pop up in different lists and people been like trying it out. So it's kind of a staple. The main deck is pretty stable. Storm, nothing ridiculous here except for maybe this Rain of Filth. Everything else is pretty standard. Yep. Elf Bowl Lands is pretty crazy deck. I'm gonna talk about some other tournaments in Legacy and also a few Legacy Constructed League deck lists for Magic Online or Moto. This is pretty silly, basically mixing up some of the explosiveness of the Lance decks and the explosiveness from the Elf Ball decks. You even have Titania here, which is bananas. On the other hand, like, this deck to me looks a bit too fair. Of course, with Green Sun Zenith and Heritage through it, you can produce a shitload of mana, and then This guy has 3 crop rotations to find the darn the land. Come on, help me out here. Gaius Credo, Gaius Credo. Does he even run it? I'm trying to see. Yeah, 4 Gaius Credos actually. This is so really going all in, and 4 Nature Orders main deck as well though. So the guy's really going all in. So maybe after all this deck is actually okay against unfair decks, especially with Ruriktar as well. So yeah, Blood Moon even in the sideboard, and Choke, a lot of interesting cards in the sideboard, even Talia. So surprise Belcher took well, didn't take down this tournament, but it came second, beating this Elf Ball and even Storm. Well, it's not super surprising, obviously. Like if that Belcher deck would be playing against a lot of blue control decks, then it would be kind of crazy. So the Spice of the Tournament is also the bug thing, and it's basically taking your kinda shardless kinda bug delver, twisting it a little bit and manage and squeezing in 4 things in the eye. So that's a thing. What else? The sideboard is pretty basic, and Miracles, of course. The one with a lot of spice in it, and treat 1 on treat main. 1 Council Judgment even main. Back to basics main deck, which I really love. I think it's awesome. And he might not even have any red whatsoever because of back to basics. On the other hand, the blue, well not blue, a red elemental blast out of sideboard is just so huge. So splashing just for that is great, and then wear tear out of the sideboard. But back to basics is also pretty great. So maybe it was a metagame call. Maybe it was a metagame call. By the way, I also see a lot of decks like running a bunch of snaps and clicks and the Venzer. And I really miss in those lists the Arcane Laboratory, I think, the Careless Land that bounces a Wizard. Also, Glenlander Archmage is not unreasonable out of the sideboard, so that's a thing as well. Yep, Phyrexian Life is pretty spicy in the sideboard here. Okay, this is what Brian Brain Dune thinks the top 5 decks in Legacy are. Obviously, Miracles is like enemy number 1. If your deck at the next Legacy GP cannot fight Miracles, then you better consider playing something else, unless you just want to have fun at a big event. So the notable parts of his list is that he's gonna try out Predict as an instant cantrip to kind of fill up the niche which's been corrupted by the ban of Dig through Time. So this is not a dig, but it's still like an instant cantrip, a cheap one for 2 mana. Can help you actually miracle Terminus on their turn as well, if the need arises. Though I'm actually a fan of playing at least 1 on treat in the main deck, just to be able to close out games quickly sometimes. At least he plays 1 in the sideboard. But that's just my perspective. I didn't play exactly with Miracles, I played with a bunch of different blue decks in Legacy, but I did play against this archetype a lot, and I don't know, whenever I watch mirror matches of these 2 decks, I just cry inside and think like it's just gonna take forever, and it's so grindy, so having a fast clock is fine. Mentor, of course, can scale up and win the game in a couple of turns, but sometimes you just have the wind of this 1 turn because you're in extra turns and things like that. So yeah, red for Power Blast, red Blast is just so huge. Blood Moon out of sideboard is also pretty spicy. I like that. So yeah, Delver, obviously the Grixis one is a really strong deck. Probably for people who don't like to grind that much but still like to grind, this is probably the deck for them. I might even like play one of Painful Truth's main deck. I feel like the card is so strong in that deck, and especially because of Eldrazi with their Thorns of Amethyst and Trinisphere and things like that. especially with Torn. True becomes 4 mana, and then you can actually converge it for 4 because you do have a tropical island in your deck, so you can actually pay 4 colors and then you draw 4 cards with it, which is just insane. I've been on the receiving end of that, and I didn't particularly enjoy it because that card advantage actually helped my opponents to climb back into the games. Alright, well, everything else is pretty standard in his list. Nothing extraordinary. I think very solid list, very smooth. He's arguing for just playing red-green lands instead of splashing black or splashing white. He does argument it here in his article pretty well. Some might agree with him, some might not. I do like Bob, I do like discard spells, I do like decays and pulse and things like that, and out of white, Knight of Reliquary and Swords of Plowshares. It just makes the deck very flexible and has it gets a lot of game to it. While if you're running just straight red green, I don't know, there could be situations where you just wouldn't be able to kind of grind it out and things like that, even though you still have life and you still have gamble and all 4 crops and things like that. But I know, in Legacy I like decks with a lot of play to it, so this is why actually blue fair decks are often like well positioned. Tireless Tracker in Legacy, how about that? So yeah, that's pretty spicy. What I actually don't like about his list a little bit, that he doesn't really have much hate in main deck, except for like lands with ports and waste and things like that. And just 1 chalice in the sideboard. Okay, he has 4 spheres in his sideboard, sure, but come on, like Mog's Diamonds into Chalice in turn 1 is just one of the strongest things you can do in Legacy, and not being able to do that is pretty crazy. Exploration is cool, but like you don't need to be just this greedy. Reliquary is a good beatdown creature, it fetches like whatever, it fetches you up the combo, it's just a very flexible card, and if you play a bunch of Chalice's main deck, then you're okay. Bob is insane on this deck, drawing so many cards and so on, and at the same time beating down or blocking or whatever. Yeah, Storm is great, but let's just say it's not a deck that you can just pick up and play. You really gotta solitaire it a shitload of times. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. You really gotta calculate a lot, and if you have a lot of experience with the deck, you just can take it and you can do well at almost any tournament. Although you do need to get a little bit lucky with the draws and so on, and with the variance with the decks you're playing against. But let's just say that while it's a very strong deck, you shouldn't be just taking it and running with it unless you can maintain a very good mental and physical shape throughout the tournaments of the size of like a Grand Prix. I can't do that, so this is why I want something that doesn't involve a lot of chain plays, but I can relax and calmly think of my turn and play it out step by step so that I don't make mistakes and things like that. So I like that. Dark Petition is a cool card in that deck. I think it's fine. I'm not like super surprised to see it. Reign of Filth, what the hell is that? Ah, it's that one. Right, so it's like mana accelerants technically. Yeah, I've seen it like in similar decks along the years. So yeah, it's that one. Okay. Yeah, I can see it. So yeah, enough Eldrazi's. His list is not a whole lot different from what I showed you at the beginning. Though he squeezed in this tower, not sure against what, so it's probably because it's a colorless land and you might as well apply it, and it's It's for the equipments and things like that, which is not a bad idea actually. I think it's a fine idea. Two Warburgs just to make sure that UI Vugen actually gives you your mana to cast things. Yeah, I gotta actually think about this tower. Of course this is a misspelling, so of course he meant just Endbringers here. So yeah, actually just playing 3 reshapers instead of 4. All is dust, like I said. So 5 Graveyard Hate cards, but just 4 Leylands is also fine. Though if Urborg in the deck, you can actually cast the Macabre and just a 2/2 flyer. And yeah, he has like a couple of spheres in the sideboard, so it's an extra hate. So yeah, most of the time I haven't seen Trinisphere, which is kind of weird. I think it belongs in the deck, but I guess because you're not such a like heavy prison deck, you do need critical mass of creatures in your beatdown deck, so I guess when you compare it like this, then probably Torn is better. But you do want to have 6 of those type of cards between main and sideboard, so in total. Right, let's go to online metagame. Jaunt, another deck that I was very surprised, but it's Legacy Constructed League from Magic Online, and Constructed Leagues online are kinda weird. I wouldn't really trust them that much in terms of metagame, and let's just say I would look at them a lot of the time just to see what tier 2 decks I might expect to see, and what solid decks people might be playing. For instance, this Jaunt, which actually splashes for white as well. For Reliquary, you get Actig, because it has Moxie, so it's not that hard. So it's a kind of like crazy hybrid, and a lot of different hate for like anything like Canonist, Charm, Rexage, Talia, Deluge, Fatsis, Slaughtergame, Leyline, Choke, and just might as well like spicy one of Garruk Relentless for some mid-range control matchups. And this is some concoction. So this is not Bug Delver exactly. This is not Shardless per se, because I don't see the actual agents. So this is like some bug base eruption. Oh, no, wait. Sorry for that. This is basically Deathblade. So, Deathrite, Stoneforge deck. So, sorry for that. This is just a 4-color base eruption Deathblade. Yeah, so another deck that you can't say it's dead, it's still good, it still has a lot of play to it. And I like that the deck can basically do whatever you want and can interact with your opponent on multiple levels. It's not a super fast deck, but it has a lot of answers. Not super many counter spells, but you can disrupt your opponent some other ways, like with main deck Thought Seizes. And a lot of very cool cards in the sideboard, including Elspeth and even Notion Thief for blue decks, and Meddling Mages for combo decks, Explosives, even Persecution. So this is a blast from the past, basically. But I think the deck is still okayish. It might struggle against, I don't know, maybe a deck like Miracles or something. But it's still very solid. And much easier probably to pick up than some other decks. So that's your Miracles with full-on free predicts, which is the kinda thing that BBD is advocating to play. All free copies in the main deck. And not many ways to win a game outside of, okay, Mind Sculptor, Mentor, Snaps. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, Volcanics in there, and your typical sideboard, that's for sure. Eldrazi, so this one is also like pretty standard to list. None of that special land. I don't know exactly what he's cutting for it. uh, maybe like extra wastelands or something like that. Very straight, let's say, sideboard. Although maybe like 3 always does is a bit too much, maybe 2 is enough. So we have 1 flexible slot in the sideboard right here. And then maybe you can fare with just 1 spare Endbringer, like 1 main, 1 side. But people seem to love this card so much, and probably in the mirror it's just absurd, or against any like fair blue decks, if you get to stick it on board, you're just gonna like bury them in the cards. So I think that's the argument about having this many copies and 2 of them in the sideboard, just because it destroys mirror in the mirror matches. That could be right. That's the Oops All Spells deck. No lands, and then just well, you can have a look at it. I'm not gonna go through it, but it's a spicy deck, but it loses to Force of Will decks, kind of. Like, you can have your own counter spells out of sideboard, free ones like Shoal, Force, maybe even Mindbreak Trap for like to prevent them from combing out. You have Probe to see if like the coast is clear in Therapy. So I don't know. Oh no, it's not Oops. It's not Oops. It's actually Dredge. What am I talking about? I just saw Oops All Spells, so neglect that. Neglect that. Neglect that. That's Dredge. Or is it actually Dredge? I guess it's a mix. I guess it's a mix. What the heck? What the heck? This is a sick deck with Crystal Daddy. Okay. Wow. Macabre main. What the heck? One spy. This guy. To mulligan your hand and basically draw a bunch of cards and dredge and dredge and dredge. This is some really wicked deck list. Oh my god, I thought it was Oops, then I thought it was Dredge, but it's actually neither, really. It's like a combination of everything with such a ridiculous sideboard. Progenitus. How do you get Progenitus out? That's the... Oh yeah, Show and Tell, maybe? Opposing Show and Tell, for instance. How else can you get it out? You can't return it, that's for sure, because it's like protection, or can you? No, it shuffles in. So it's just like, why not, if people are playing like Show and Tell decks? You're just like dumping this thing into play? This is so random. This is so random. Okay. Food chain. Basically, what this deck does, you get a lot of mana, and you can go infinite with the Griffin. You just like play it out of exile, and you get a lot of mana. What do you do with a lot of mana? And how do you get all those like guys? How you win? You get Empath, and you fetch big dudes, and then you just used Tessiger activation to dump more stuff in the graveyard and get a lot of value. And instead of going all the way up to Emrakul, you can just combo out till you get Tyrants, and then bounce whatever they have in play. And then you just, yeah, basically bury them in value from Tessiger. And you can defend yourself with decays and forces and occasional discard spells, etc. And some hate in the sideboard, of course. Funny deck, but not overpowered. That's Bug Delver. Nothing insane here. Except for maybe people really realizing that this card is good. It's like Envelope or something, but actually better sometimes when you get to Delirium. So yeah, not totally surprised to see this card popping up in the sideboards. That's for sure. More stuff. Merfolks with Chalice of the Void, main deck. Not a huge surprise because the deck doesn't really have that many one-drops or something. Back to basics in the sideboard, pretty cool, pretty cool. Outside of that, pretty standard stuff going on there. Miracles with a lot of wizards, so in those kind of lists where you have like Panzer, Click, Snap, and I don't see Arcane Laboratory. Maybe because if you're splashing red, it's actually tough. But it's so much of value, I don't know. Maybe it's really not that needed. That's shardless, but you know that deck probably. Because there was something crazy in there. Miracles, miracles. Bug Delver. Any spice? Yes, surgery again on the sideboard, so be aware of that. Casualties is a known tech, but yeah, so many decks actually, like bug tempo decks adopting Winter Orb. That's pretty spicy, so be aware of that. Be aware of that. That's something to be really aware of. Canavel draws a list. Anything odd in here? Not really. Not really. Nobody's playing that lands to make a dude pro artifacts. Nobody's playing that land. Yeah, pretty stocked. So instead of a, okay, so he's playing 5 graveyard cards, graveyard hate cards, over 1 All Is Dust. Yeah, I could see that. I just wonder, like, why do people need so much of you know, graveyard hate and stuff? Okay, so what is he playing actually in the slot of Spare Endbringers? So yeah, extra graveyard hate, and then what? Then what? Like spheres or something, or needles? I think what I'm gonna end up doing at Prague in a few days, actually, just forget about my cap, just play 4 ley lines maybe, and then just play another Endbringer here, something like that. This way my list should be very smooth. Yeah, the good part about Macabre is that it can't be countered or anything, like it's very sneaky, because sometimes one activation like that is all you need, and it's instant speed and so on, you can actually cast it. Another Eldrazi with a couple of Endbringers. What did he cut? Reshapers? No. What did he cut? Ah, Torrents. No. Nah. I actually want a couple of Torrents there. It's not great in the mirror, of course, but it's so good in so many other matchups, and you want some of that main, yeah. So what he did was actually then get an extra copy of Spirit God and extra Endbringer. So he's much better for mirror matches and stuff like this. And just Macabres instead of Leylines, maybe he just couldn't get the Macabres. Couldn't get the Macabres. Maybe just couldn't get the Macabres. Alright. Alright, Burn. That's a bit of a surprise here, that's for sure. That's for sure. And this is Blue-Red Delver, which is real crazy. But when you think about it, 4 Forces, 4 Dazes, couple of Spell Pierces, very fast clock, Storm Chaser, Legacy staple nowadays. Of course 4 prices, but no Snapcasters in here. And I really want to see at least like 1 Snapcaster in those lists, because flashback in price is so crazy. Rough and Tumble, hi. Well, you don't want to kill your own Delver and things like that, and Storm Chaser, so there is that. Vortex in the sideboard, and moons, everything else is understandable. Bug Delver also again. Blue-Red Delver again. So yeah, people, this is a simple deck. It has a lot of play. It's fast, and it's not that expensive, especially if you don't play Snapcasters in that deck. And yeah, it has a lot of answers. You have like balls for opponent's creatures, you have some counter spells, things like that. Sideboarding is not that complicated like with some other decks, so there is that. Okay, this is Belcher, right? Yeah, Belcher. Very surprised to see that. I don't get it. There are so many blue decks and with Force of Will, but of course then if blue deck doesn't draw Force of Will in its opener, it can always die to Belcher, but there's always a risk of that, so it's tough to play Belcher. You need like balls of steel to play Belcher in Legacy. But sometimes it strikes. Sometimes even Belcher strikes. Eldrazi is pretty standard to list. Not much love for Endbringer. Yeah. Another Eldrazi. Olamog. Whoa. Whoa. Hello there. Monoliths. What? Not sure I like that. So, okay, tower in the sideboard, but I don't know if that's needed. Card in the sideboard, that's crazy. I guess kind of like acting sort of like Feridolus does, but with more flexibility or something. Perhaps. Something like that. Yeah, this list is like fun, but of course it has like some oddities. Like Chrysalwyn even in there too. So yeah, he was basically trying to scrap the list. And just trying to make some spice, and maybe it's just his playstyle and his experience, I don't know. Another, yeah, that's the Deathblade, nothing crazy over here. Surgery again. Sword of Fist and Famine is nice. Quite an underappreciated card in Legacy, I think. Grixis Delver. Yep, okay, let's move into paper meta game. So this happened a couple of weeks ago in Bologna in Italy. 127 players, and Bazinga, Blue-Red Delver taking it down. With one main deck Blood Moon, because why the hell not? See, this deck is really becoming a force in Legacy, I think. More moons in the sideboards. Really like the deck. I really like those decks. So let's just say that if you don't know what to play and you don't want to think a lot and you want something that is fast and still has a lot of play to it, so pick up Blue-Red Delver. Or you can call it Blue-Red Burn because that's basically what it is. Gobs are not totally that, but I would shy away from that deck. It can actually win against Miracles sometimes, but it's a fine deck. But it's let's just say it's probably not a deck to win a tournament with. But this guy like top 8, it's a pretty sizable event, so I don't know. While you may be confused by this deck name, but it's essentially in fact another safe deck that has a lot of play in it and it's fast. So I really like in fact still. It's also like one of those decks like Blue-Red Burn or Blue-Red Delver where you just scrap a bunch of things, borrow a few things, and it's a deck that is actually not super hard to pick up for a big event. Team America, what this basically means is Bug Delver. Very standard, very basic, blast from the past, basically very similar to Canadian Threshold or Timor Delver. Nothing extreme there. This is what I've been like a bit intrigued. I've played Dredge, and I don't know what people try to play here. 3 spies as well. So this is again this kind of weird new concoction with shells and phantasmagorians. Though I don't see that new zombie from Innistrad here, and that's kinda crazy. But he does play Chancellor as well, so this is pretty crazy. Well, it gives you a buff to reanimate with the return, and makes your first spell like return uncounterable. Well, kind of uncounterable, like they have to pay 1, but oftentimes they won't be able to. Pretty weird list, to be honest. To be honest, a very weird list. I think I like it less than the previous one, but I'm not sure. This is, by the way, the Manaless Dredge, and previous one we also saw like was Manaless Dredge. Seeking Shone Save with holy cow. Contagion to kill like small creatures from death and taxes. Yeah. Jeez. That also takes some balls to play this deck, but you gotta you need a lot of practice. Before you get really knocked out. So this is another event, happened a couple of weeks ago. Magic Card Market Series, so in Frankfurt in Germany, 426 players, and then Agrolome actually taking it down in there. And probably this is what I've been talking about, what I really like, this kind of a very flexible, really hateful 4-color lands. Or is it just junk? No, it has growth because you need like punishing fire and stuff like that. So yeah, so this is what I would rather to play if I really fancy lands. Though this deck has only 25 of them, so well 26 technically with Triad Arbor, so not too many. But this deck has so much apply, like quite a few decisions to make, and so many cool things to do. Yeah, I really love this deck. I love that kind of version like way more. So the spice in here is just Relentless, Charm, extra stage, extra depths. Does he play actually the combo main deck? No, he doesn't, so he actually boards it in, but a lot of your opponents will be actually expecting it game 1 and try to play around that, but it's not there, and then you just bring it in. For grinding matchups, I guess, where there are not that many ways to get rid of that 2020, maybe just Source Deploshers and that's it. Chandra is crazy here. You don't have that many red sources in this deck, but only 2 is enough, plus you have Moxes, so that helps. Yep, Maverick. So your green-white hate bears. Nothing super crazy here, but Death Ride, Shamans, and Reliquaries for sure. What else is spicy here? Okay, he's splashing for punishing. He's splashing for punishing. So let's just say that I think the metagame in Prague will be full of well, not full of, there will be a huge not huge. Okay, sizable amount of punishing fires in quite a few different decks and flavors, and quite a few chalices, so be aware of that. So at least be prepared to fight against those type of things, for example. Spicy cards in this sideboard, it's Revoker, Plague, Null Rod, Choke, Modes. Yeah, pretty spicy deck, I like it. Tutor for whatever you want. Pretty sick, pretty sick. Yeah, I like this deck, very solid. If you like attacking with creatures and you want to be able to actually punish your opponent for playing a combo deck, this is a decent find. It plays a copy of the Dark Depths combo, so one-offs, which you can tutor up with the Reliquary, and that's about it, but it's fine. Those are just one-offs. Those are just one-offs. With 25 lands, it's okay. It's okay. Was there anything crazy there else? Blade control. Well, yeah, that's just probably Esper Blade or Death Blade. No, just just Esper Blade, no deathrights, straight Esper, which is fine. Oddity is one soaring. It basically combos off with Lingering Souls, which are interesting because of Cabal Therapy, of which like one main, one sideboard. Yeah, this deck has a lot of play. Deathright is not just like something that you have to play in such a deck. In addition to 2 Mind Sculptors for Rain Prodigies. What I really don't understand, I hope it's a typo, I hope it's a mistake. Like, what the hell is this supposed to mean? So, it probably was a typo, or just like by accident, or just trolling. I don't know what's that about. Like, maybe it's another Nemesis, maybe it's another Strix. I don't know. It looks so weird. Just so weird. It's probably some actual card and not this joke. The cyber is pretty cool here though. Though maybe more than one Flusterstorm is better, I don't know. I would probably play at least 2 in the sideboard, things like that. But other than that, like very solid sideboards. You have things for every kind of case in every situation. Looks pretty spicy, looks like a nice deck and something I might even enjoy to play, but this deck actually might have even too much to play, so it's like too many decisions and I will be lost, and I don't play Legacy as much as I should, so I'm more of a modern and standard guy. But people who play most of the time just Legacy would love this deck, I guess. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, I hope you learned new things, and I hope this recap of different tournaments and card choices and archetypes and etc. and metagame was actually useful for you. I'll see you guys next time. Probably another video will be for standard and modern, but anyways, check out the Legacy playlist on the channel, check out the website bobrew.com. And I'll see you guys next time. Good luck in your tournaments, and that's GP Prague!